Hello, 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 YouTube! My name is rhianaB, and welcome back to another episode of my RuPaul's Drag Race review. So as you can tell by the makeup, the runway theme was mermaid fantasy, so I'm rocking some very elaborate mermaid makeup, wet hair. I am wearing some my little blue jewel here. I've got, you probably can't see it, I'm wearing a Tokidoki Mermicorno t-shirt, so I'm definitely in theme for this week, so let's delve right in. So obviously we can't start an episode without having a little bit of drama after the last elimination, and Eureka at one point is trying to talk to Vixen and try to just talk to her, but then of course poking the bear, which is getting annoying at this point, Vixen tries being defensive and all that sort of shit, and it's just, I'm gonna have a lot of issue with Vixen in this episode. We'll get to that later. This is just the start. Other than that, we also have Monique, who needs to step it up because she has been safe throughout pretty much most of the competition. She hasn't done anything to elevate herself up with all the other girls. So this is going to be the challenge and the week where her determination will really come into play here. So we have the mini challenge, and it is the classic library is open challenge, the reading challenge, which is by far my favorite challenge ever, or like mini challenge ever, I should say. I love watching these girls read each other. To me, it's just hilarious and I love it. To me, the best ones were Aquaria, Asia, Eureka, Cracker, and Monet. I thought they were the absolute best. I honestly probably would have given it to Monet because I thought she had, I think she made Rue laugh a lot more than the other girls. But the winner ends up being Eureka, which it does make sense. She was funny, so it doesn't bother me, but I did think Monet should have won the reading challenge. But anyway, moving on to the big challenge that we've all been waiting for this season. It is Snatch Game! Snatch Game is here this season, and I have all the girls' characters listed on my notes here. So Monet, as we saw from the preview from last week, she was going to be playing Maya Angelou, which, of course, it's going to be hilarious since Chi-Chi in All Stars 3 did a major fail when she tried doing Maya Angelou in All Stars 3. So that was one to look at because it's a character that's been done many times. Cameron was going to be China, and if any of you don't know who China is, she is a wrestling superstar. I forget if she was like in the 80s or 90s. When she was the biggest in her career, but she just recently passed away. So that was Cameron's role. Vixen was going to play Blue Ivy, which is obviously Beyonce's but toddler daughter. Well, not even, how old is Ivy? I don't even know how old Blue Ivy is. And then Eureka is stuck on either doing Divine or Honey Boo Boo. Monique is stuck on either doing Maxine Waters or Cookie Lion from Empire. Asia was stuck between Whitney Houston or Beyonce. Miss Cracker decides to do Dorothy Parker, and Aquarius decides to do Melania Trump. So looking at the picks, I think the better choices, I think Monet had a pretty good, I think Monet is funny enough to make Maya Angelou work. Cameron, I think because of her bodybuilding, she can really bring out the physical embodiment, but I think she can also do character development with this. Eureka, I think I leaned toward Honey Boo Boo, mostly because when she was trying to do Divine, it was to Eureka. So I think Honey Boo Boo was the better option. Monique, I kind of wish I had seen her do Cookie Lion, at least when they were doing run-throughs with Rue. I kind of wanted to see that because I don't know much about Maxine Waters. I'm not that big on, I know she's like against Trump and everything, but I don't know her well enough. With Asia, the problem is both of her characters are hard to do, mostly because Beyonce's been done twice. Tyra Sanchez was Beyonce in the first Snatch Game in season 2, and then Kenya Michaels did an epic fail of Beyonce in season 4 Snatch Game. So Beyonce's not someone that you can do lightly unless you can really like bring it to a level that's funny enough but yet still in character. And then when she had Whitney Houston, the problem is she was going to rely on drug jokes, but I think there was just recently a controversy, wasn't there, about the whole crack cocaine situation involving Whitney Houston with a comedian, or I'm not entirely sure what that was all about. I remember hearing it on Twitter or whatever. But the thing is, Whitney is more funny when she's in the drug phase of her career, which is sad, but that is true. And the fact being that Rue kind of discourages Asia from doing this, it kind of takes away the funny. So she's kind of left with characters that she really can't bring out. So that's the problem there. Dorothy Parker, I trust Cracker to do a good job to introduce a character that maybe we haven't heard much about. I don't know really who Dorothy Parker is. I've heard the name, but I never looked into who she was. But I trust in her comedy ability to bring that out, especially since that she's Bob's daughter and Bob won Snatch Game in season 8. And then, let's see here. Oh yeah, Aquaria. Aquaria doing Melania Trump. That's a big, bold move to make, because we have Maxine Waters, where we're having a couple political figures in this. I don't know, it's like, I feel like Aquaria can get into the character. It's just a matter of, can she really fully bring it out? Like, can she take it that one step to make it a winning performance in Snatch Game? That's the big question there. So we have a special guest entering the workroom, which we saw in previews last week. We had Miss Bianca Del Rio, the queen of heart of roasting comedy herself. I love Bianca. I have seen her live. She is fantastic live. I was so excited to see her in the workroom. I kind of wish she would have been a little bit meaner, but maybe it's just the editors didn't put everything in there. She was really funny though. You gotta love Bianca. And then before we get to the actual Snatch Game, we have Asia. Kind of because she's going with Beyonce, she's gonna really rely on the Vixen to really help with getting her jokes across. And I'm just like, I mean, that's just, you worked together in the past before and that did not work out for either of you really that well. So it's just, I just can't, I just don't understand why she would do that. And I don't know. I guess she just was trying to pull at straws at this point because there's not much you can do with Beyonce, or Blue Ivy for that matter. Moving on to actual Snatch Game. So we did have, okay, I'm gonna go through the line. We have Monet. Monet, fantastic job. Fantastic job as Maya Angelou. She spoke with this like really low and drawn out sort of a voice. And that just added to it so much. And she did, I don't know, she did a rhyme when Rue first talks to Monet. And it rhymed and it worked. It was funny. And then, in my opinion, the best part was when she brought out that soliloquy, and she just went to town with that, and it cracked me up. I was living for Miss Monet, so definitely she was one of the top, impersonators on Snatch Game. Next is Cameron. Sad to say, but I also think this is because Cameron didn't get that much camera time, is when I just put good on my notes. I literally just put good, and it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a matter of the fact that it wasn't enough to push, especially when there was a lot of girls who were really bringing it. Her voice was great, her look was fantastic, the whole bit with the testosterone thing was funny, but it wasn't enough to elevate, so I did give her middle of the road. We've got about 2 or 3 people that are really gonna start bringing it down. The first person is Vixen. I'm sorry, Vixen, why in the actual hell would you pick a child to impersonate on Snatch Game? And not like Eureka, which we'll get to here in a second. You picked a person that doesn't show that much personality in her young age. Now, if it was someone who did show off a lot of their personality in a young age, then that would be okay. But I don't know anything about Blue Ivy's personality at all. And relying on looks, relying on things she's done like as a meme or sort of thing, that's not what you do. You can't rely on looks and a meme to get you through Snatch Game. It does not work that way. So I was just kind of fed up with the fact with Vixen, although I was going to get more over it with her later, but at this point she was definitely one of the worst of Snatch Game. Now moving on to the other child in the room, which is Eureka. She did end up picking Honey Boo Boo, which I thought it worked. She made, where Vixen failed at portraying a child in a comedic way, Eureka did it. But the thing is, Honey Boo Boo's a very like over the top character. Like even in her reality show, it's so played up, and she's such a personality even as a young child that you can easily put that in Snatch Game and have it work. For one thing, where did Eureka get all the food? It's kind of like in season 7 when Ginger was playing Adele and like she kept like getting food at her table. It's like, where did this food all come from? She had pixie sticks. I think she had Mountain Dew. It's like, where did all this stuff come from? Did she actually pack this stuff in her bag? It's like, it was just really weird, but it worked for the character, and the thing she did with like her belly, like making her belly talk, it's so Honey Boo Boo. Because sad to say, I have watched one episode of Honey Boo Boo. That's about half an hour of my life I'll never get back. But I thought she played the character to a T, so definitely Eureka was one of the best tonight. Moving on to Monique. What is sad about Monique is that she did start off very, very strong. Kind of like how Trixie did in All Stars 3 when she was playing RuPaul. She started strong, and then everything else just kind of went, it just went down. It just could not keep up. Monique at one point broke character when Ru was telling jokes. And you don't break character. That's one thing you never do when you're acting or impersonating. You do not break character. And she did a couple times. None of her jokes really seemed to land. She tried to banter, but it just did not work. So I saw potential, but then it just went downhill. So I had to give her a lower score only because it could have been so good. It could have been good, and it just did not get there. Next is Asia O'Hara. And yet again, we know, we should realize at this point that Beyonce is forever X'd out of Snatch Game. No one should do Beyonce ever again, because Tyra did it in season 2 and it was boring. Kenya did it in season 4 and it was just a complete disaster. And here, I think she had the best Beyonce look. I think that's the only thing she had going for her though, because where the hell did Beyonce get such an attitude? Like, if she was playing Mariah Carey, I would have totally gotten this. But the fact she's playing Beyonce, and Beyonce does not come off as being mean or mad or aggressive in any way, especially toward her children, I just couldn't understand why she would pick to do that. And I'm literally just left with what is going on, what is happening, like, and even Vixen, I don't think even knew what she was doing because she was trying to keep up with Asia, and it just was not working. It was just an awful, god-awful train wreck. So definitely, sad to say, it's a boot for Asia this week. Next is Miss Cracker, and again, I'm kind of left where I was with Cameron. It was good, and there were funny moments, but nothing was standing out to me at all. And again, that could also be an issue of camera time because they were probably focusing more on the girls who were doing well and the ones who weren't doing well compared to the ones that were doing, you know, okay. Which is sad because I think Cracker actually had good jokes. I just wish I could have seen more of her. So I'm at the same point where I have to give her middle of the road because she didn't do anything super stand out. And then finally we have Miss Aquaria, and this is why I love Aquaria, because she surprises you. She's been surprising me so much this season, and this was one of them. Who knew that Aquaria would do well at Snatch Game? She started off with the whole box thing, which is like the box that she got for Michelle Obama when they met for the first time or something like that. And when RuPaul opens the box, it says "Help me" on the inside. I died laughing at that. That was so clever, so well done. And even throughout that, she was like speaking in an accent that you couldn't tell where it came from, which is kind of how I think a lot of the media portrays Melania. I just thought she nailed it. She nailed Melania so well. And it was a big surprise to see this from Aquaria, but that's all the more reason to love her. So definitely a high for Aquaria. Also, before we move on to the rest of the episode, we had a couple of, we had one little cameo from Alex Trebek, who hosts Jeopardy, which is interesting to see him on RuPaul's Drag Race. Because he doesn't seem like the type who would watch this show. Not like you have to be a certain type to watch RuPaul's Drag Race, but it's interesting just to see someone who kind of comes off as being more serious, although kind of recently I think people see like he could be a bit of a douche sometimes. But it was interesting to see him doing little cameos. Anyway, moving on. Vixen wants a good critique, is at one point what she says. And literally, it leads me to think about how delusional Vixen can be at times. Not all the time, but a couple of times she's just like, she thinks she does good enough, or either she just wants a good critique and wants to like put it out in the universe like, hey, I want a good critique, someone give me a good critique. It's just like, girl, good luck with that, because you're not giving yourself many favors. We also had another issue between Eureka and Vixen. Vixen attacking Eureka for stealing the spotlight, which, I'm sorry, isn't Snatch Game all about stealing the spotlight? If you're doing well in the challenge, you should be stealing the spotlight because you're that good. And if you don't have the spotlight on you, you're giving it to someone else. So Monet even said it too, that Vixen is jealous of Eureka because she did well and Vixen didn't. Which, I'm gonna save my real opinion for what's gonna happen later. But anyway, some mirror moments. We had moments about drag and politics and how Vixen at one point talks about how politics is a very big part of her drag and that she kind of takes like stuff that could offend people as far as like race is concerned and put that into her show. Which is bold, but I think in Chicago she has the freedom to do that. Whereas Monique, who's from Kansas City in Missouri, she can't really do that. It's very personal for the racing, which I completely understand because I live in the Midwest, and we're still kind of, in a sense, reeling over a lot of the race issues that happened. Oh God, was it like, what, 4 or 5 years ago? Because I was in college when like Ferguson happened and stuff like that. So it's very a heated discussion in the Midwest. So I understand where Monique is coming from as far as the politics and the drag thing is concerned. So that was a little moment that I could technically relate to because I've kind of sort of lived through parts of it, or at least I was around a lot of the stuff that was going on around the time. So anyway, moving on to the runway. First, we have Miss Monique Hart. And this was just not good. It was not good at all. First off, the whole ensemble just looked really discombobulating. It was like the waist up was one thing, neck up was one thing, and hips down was another thing. It was just too much of too different, and I just thought it did look cheap. It did look cheap. The tail did not look well done. It didn't match. It just... I like Monique, but I can't give this anything but a boot. This was just not good. Next is Miss Cracker, and this was so adorable. This was so cute. I love the tail because it's like made out of like rainbow paillettes, or paillettes, am I saying that correctly? Yeah. The top was adorable, the hair, the headpiece, the makeup, her playing up the character was so cute, I always say like Cracker is so Cracker, but she is Miss Cracker. It's so cute, definitely a high runway for me. Next is Aquaria, and this was my favorite look. This was the one that I really, really liked. It was so different. It was dark, but it was still like editorial and sexy, and I love like the really slicked down hair and the tears. It was just so cool looking, and it was so outside of the box for what a lot of the other girls did. So, I mean, she killed it in Snatch Game, she killed it on the runway, high runway. Next is Asia O'Hara. This I actually really enjoyed. Like, she came out with first off, I couldn't tell if it was like her face, like her own makeup. It was a mask, so I am gonna kind of clock her on the fact that it's a mask. But if it weren't the mask, it would make the look not as interesting. I mean, it's a cool look, but the mask kind of just pulls it all together. It makes it beautiful and yet strange at the same time. I loved it. I, again, don't love the fact that it's a mask, but I really thought it elevated the look, so I will give this a high runway. Next is Vixen, and Miss Vixen. I will admit her face looks beat. Her hair, I like the crown and the shoulder piece. The hair looks good. The issue is, first, the boobs. The boobs are way too high, and they need to be a little bit lower to look like you have, like, real boobs, not, like, a boob that's, like, up here, because that's your chest. At least on a woman it is. That was wrong. The top was just bad. The tail was a little too, like... It kind of looked like a kid took a tail that you could buy at a Target and like glued a bunch of ocean themed stuff on it. It looked a little craftsy, and it just, no. I mean, I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. I did like her face, one of the better makeup looks that she's done. I will give it middle of the road, but it's very hard for me to even do that because there was a lot wrong with this look. Next is Miss Monet Exchange. I will say, love the idea. The execution could have been done a little bit differently. First off, and I know this is hard for darker girls to do, but the fact that you can see like the mesh detail of the look, it just threw it off for me. I would have wished she hadn't even done that. I kind of wish she had just like maybe like done like no mesh. I don't even know if the dress really needed it. If you would like cinched it enough, probably would stay on your body. That was just distracting to me, but I love the concept of being like she's like a warrior mermaid. That to me was very intriguing. I love the prop. The hair was interesting. I love the tail because you could see like that big gash in the tail. That was a cool detail. So I will give this middle of the road only because the execution could have been done a lot better. Next is Eureka, and this was really, really good. I love it. I like it when Eureka does dark, because I don't think we always associate her with like her normal drag aesthetic to be dark, but she can very easily do it. She always does really cool like effects with her eyes, which is what I love, and with the Mermaid Challenge you can easily do that. I love the dress. It was like kind of like a nude illusion, but it was like leather. It was dark and sexy, and then the minute she opened her mouth and blood would start coming out. I didn't think I would ever see that again because Sharon did that in season 4, first episode. I never thought I would see anything like that again, yet Eureka did it for this, and it was really, really cool. It was an interesting touch to add the blood detail, but it's to show like she's like an eviler version of Ursula in drag, which is fantastic. So the whole look was fantastic, so I will give this a high runway. And finally we have Cameron Michaels, and this was just really, really cute and adorable. I just thought her face always looks good. I love Cameron's face. The headpiece and the wig, although it is stereotypical mermaid, to me it worked. I loved the look. I loved the tail, and the fact she was like kind of just staring at herself in a mirror, kind of like what a mermaid, you know, would do in the myth world. That's what mermaids do. They sit on rocks and they stare at themselves in mirrors and comb their hair. I thought she just made herself look like a pretty mermaid, and I loved it, so I will give Cameron a high runway as well. Did anyone else like kind of say to themselves like, is it so nice that the girls get to sit down? Because I don't think they've ever done that before. I don't think they've ever had a runway where all the girls are like sitting down. But granted, they can't really stand up in those tails very long, so I don't blame them. But I just thought it was funny, like the girls must be very excited because now they get a chance to sit on the runway. Anyway, our tops are Aquaria, Monet, and Eureka. Our safe queens were Cracker and Cameron, and then our bottoms were Monique, Asia, and Vixen. Now, the question that comes up a lot in past seasons is the question, who deserves to go home? Now, obviously, based on challenge as well, but I think there's a couple of like past incidents that a lot of the girls said Vixen. I think everyone did say Vixen, except for Eureka, which is incredible then that Vixen decides to go and attack Eureka, calling her unprofessional, calling her a loudmouth, calling her all these terrible things that don't even go toward her drag aesthetic. They go for her personality. They go for her, like, who she is as a human being. And what drove me insane was that Vixen would say, you know, she's a loudmouth, da-da-da-da-da, and, you know, she says, oh, this is me, this is just me. When she herself will use that same excuse when someone else starts attacking her. She'll say, you know, this is me, this is who I am, take it or you deal with it. It's like, you know, the pot calling the kettle black. It just annoys me so much that Vixen does not see that she is a hypocrite. She tends to do this all the time, no matter who it is, and I cannot for the life of me understand how anyone can put up with Vixen after this. And she's had her moments where I can't even understand that she could even get along with these other girls, because she is very shady. She will go after you if she hates you, and she will not do anything to recover that. It's just, and I also did feel bad for Eureka because Vixen kept talking over her and kept bringing her down when Eureka was trying to explain herself and trying to fight for her own, you know, integrity. I'm sorry. It's just another check mark on the list of reasons why I hate Vixen. It's just she cannot. I just don't like her personality. I think she's shady, and I really wanted her to go home. But anyway, moving on to the lip sync, and oh, sorry, the winner was, sorry, the winner is Aquaria. Aquaria did win, which is, I think a very surprising pick, because I think had it been based solely on Snatch Game, that Monet would have won, because I think Monet had a fantastic Snatch Game. Aquaria did too, but I think also the runway was a key factor here, because Monet's runway was a little lackluster. If she had elevated it a little bit further, she probably would have won. But I'm very happy for Aquaria. I thought she did deserve it. Both runway and Snatch Game were fantastic. And on our bottoms, we had Vixen and Monique. So let's go ahead and watch my reaction to the lip sync. Monique better kick Vixen's ass. Oh no. Monique's wig is starting to fall off. Is she even lip syncing at all, girl? They both have like the same like style of movement. Damn it, Monique. I can't even look. I can't even freaking look at the screen right now. What in the... Oh my... I can't. I shouldn't even have the smiley face facing toward you guys. Okay, I'll admit that was fierce. I'll admit that was fierce. Good on you.
Ladies, I've made my decision. The Vixen, Shantae, you stay.
Yeah, we all knew. Monique, girl, what the fuck happened? So, yeah. So obviously I'm disappointed that Vixen has stayed again. I still think she should have gone home last week instead of Blair, but I was counting on Monique so much to get this bitch out of the competition, but she didn't know the words. She was kind of like a rag doll all over the place on the stage. It was just like, I mean, you saw my reaction. I couldn't even look. It was like so hard to watch. And I don't know if I would put this in the same league as, you know, like a Charlie Hyde or a Valentina situation. Because at least she was trying. I could see the fight in Monique. But this is going to go down as one of the worst lip syncs in Drag Race history because of the fact that she didn't know the words. And she was just kind of going all over the place. She was fumbling out of her twists and her cartwheels when Vixen, on the other hand, was doing pretty much everything she was doing, but executing it. It was just, I was just counting on Monique so much to get her out, but sadly, no, Monique does end up going home. Our Midwestern girl is gone, and I'm kind of sad about that, but after that lip sync, I can't blame the judges. So, anyway, moving on to next week, we are going to have a tribute to the legend herself, Cher. And what's going to be interesting is that, these queens, especially younger, which, not to say if you're younger you don't get references that are older than you, but it is going to be interesting to see like the younger queens and how they're going to interpret Cher and what do they know about Cher and all those sort of things compared to some of the older, not older, but, you know, older than the younger queens, if that makes any sense. So it'll be interesting. I'm kind of intrigued to see the looks that they're going to pull out, because Cher's got quite a few iconic looks, because she's been around for like forever. It feels like I can't remember a time that, like, Cher wasn't a big thing, you know? It's like one of those types of things. So it'll be interesting to see what looks come out of this, and maybe there's probably going to be like a lip sync sort of a challenge, mini one as well. That'll be interesting, so that will be fun. and you can guarantee that we're gonna have some fallout from this episode next week, so that'll be interesting. But on that note, I'm going to end the video here. If you guys like it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me comments down below. What did you think of this week's episode? And if you want to see my future videos or videos I've already done, go ahead, hit subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you can be notified when my videos come out. That's all I have for you guys today, and until the next video, bye! Mwah.